What does the research say possibility on community and purpose and knowing your why and how important that is from a fundamental basis?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think those are incredibly important things to have essentially across, both starting right at the beginning of your life and then continuing it right towards the end of your life. And I think what has been most striking for me, the more time I spend looking at these different periods of development or susceptibility to either an injury or decline, is that essentially you need the same things across the entire lifespan. Like it doesn't necessarily change, and we're kind of told that your brain develops, and we've moved out when it finishes developing. Now we may think it finishes developing in the mid-20s or late 20s, early 30s, when you sort of like finally myelate, your prefrontal cortex is fully developed, you are finally the human that you are going to be. But then the brain is not rigid after that. It is surprisingly plastic even after that period of time, as in it is able to adapt to change and develop new connections and new skills. And we've sort of told ourselves that that's not the case, but really our brains are fantastically adaptive over time. And so if you think about the things that you mentioned, it's really important to have. So I have like a model of what the brain requires, and it essentially needs three broad things, which are materials, protection or security, and then connection, which is connection to the outside world. You need to tell your brain that it is a useful thing to have, because just like a muscle, if you don't use it, you don't tell your muscles that they're useful, then they're an expensive thing that there's no point in keeping a hold of, and your body will actively get rid of them, and your brain seems to be exactly the same. So one very important thing that our brain needs is to be told that it's useful and that it has some purpose and connection to individuals and the greater society. And there's lots of data showing how social connectedness protects against cognitive decline, how some kind of purpose or feeling of that your life has meaning is supportive of long-term health and associated with lower mortality and occurrences of mental health. And I think that starting this early on is very important, because there's an increasing burden of mental health amongst younger children, teenagers, adolescents, and I think telling people you are loved and needed and you have purpose, and showing them or giving people the ability to sort of provide that to other, be it in the service of others or finding some other way to be connected to others and work towards a purpose greater than themselves, I think is incredibly important, both for mental health and then long-term cognitive function. So that's one of the critical components of brain development, is connecting to the outside world, which is part of developing our motor skills and developing our social skills and developing language skills, which are essentially how we wire and develop our brains in the first place. And then we need to use those out in the world and keep using them and developing new skills in order to maintain cognitive function over time. So it's like it sort of underpins one of the main things that our brain needs for long-term health.